The Brewhouse was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery, but the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewhouse.com. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Great to have Jenna Cottrell back with us.
Yes,
It's been a long time, the grind with the Buffalo Bills.
Season's over, but I'm back to happy to be back here.
Yeah, and Pat Duffy. So, look, let's talk a little baseball.
What?
Pat's so excited to talk about this jersey.
What am I talking about? Well, I mean, it's high school basketball season. I have the vintage Aquinas Little Irish basketball jersey that hopefully, due to the statute of limitations, I will not be. I stole this jersey from Aquinas. I never played basketball there, but I had some buddies.
Game worn. It's scratched
100%
on the floor.
And it's probably scratched at me. Summer league. A couple of my basketball buddies were playing a tournament. They were short and they needed 5 fouls to be eaten. They gave me the jersey and said, "Please give this back when you're done." And I said, "Totally." And now I'm 33. And if you guys want it back, feel free to come get it. I mean, yeah.
So,
Sounds about right.
whose is it?
It's mine.
It is yours.
Pat Duffy, game worn Aquinas Summer League basketball jersey.
Summer League.
Well, yeah, I had
Asterisks.
boxing.
And the price tag on that would be more or less?
Oh, it's priceless. Priceless. I'll sign it for you. Maybe I'll leave it behind for the Wall of Fame. Who knows?
Look, I don't know about you, but when this whole thing with the Houston Astros hit, I was just dumbfounded at the breadth of the fine and the all of it. It was like I was just stunned by it.
I think you kind of have to come out swinging, though, no pun intended, just in terms of Rob Manfred and the way he goes after it. Just because this is huge in terms of, look, the signal ceiling is obviously a big thing. You always want to have that gamesmanship. You always want to be on the cutting edge. But when you have technology specifically being implemented to help you cheat, I think that's a stance where you have to take, okay, we need to come down on this team because this cannot happen.
You think the punishment was severe?
Well,
They won a World Series championship. And I think if you were to ask other team owners, would you rather have a World Series championship or would you rather have pay a fine, your manager and general manager would be suspended for a year and you would lose out on those 4 draft picks? I still think owners would take the World Series
Without a question. Let me tell you.
But it smears them forever.
Who cares? All right, let me paint a picture
You
for
still got all that money.
So that $5 million fine they paid, they made $85 million in 2017 and 2019 in playoff revenues from all of that stuff as a franchise. So you're up still $80 million. You still have the ring. You still have the banner you get to hang. All of your fans still have those memories. You still have the videos you're going to sell.
The parade.
This is a joke. It's a joke. Oh, and you lost out on a manager and a general manager. My favorite part, Ludlow, I'm saying that the right way, right? The general manager for the Luno, excuse me, okay. He comes out, on his way out, and throws the coaches and players under the bus, says he knew nothing.
Yeah.
You know this, Bill. General manager for a baseball team is a game of numbers, right? If that guy, we saw the batting average difference in the playoffs between home and away with the Astros. If that guy, as a general manager, saw those batting averages and didn't think, hey, why is there a 200-point difference between some of my best? He's either the worst general manager in the world or even more of a scumbag than we thought. They should have taken it away. They should have wiped it out, vacated the championship. And is suspending a franchise out of the question for a season cost them all the revenue they can make? We're at that level, right? This is bigger than Pete Rose. This affected more players and careers and coaches than Pete Rose ever did.
If these people really thought it was at the time, I'm just so confused by it. I'm a big baseball fan, but at the time that all this is going down, if they had believed that it was so serious, how could they have thought they'd get away with this? Players moving around, everybody knows within a short period of time, everybody would know that's going all in on a pair of twos.
I mean, yeah, but they still did it. I think when you have that edge and you see it, it's hard to say no to that. I think if I was playing in that organization, you know it's wrong, but you're seeing all those results, and that draws you back in. I'm not saying it's the right thing, but I kind of understand where these guys are going with it because you want to win at any expense, and they showed that this last couple of years.
I mean, look at it this way. Let's use just one player out of this whole thing as an example. Yu Darvish's reputation right now, compared to where it was before he faced the Astros, is gone. right? He's a laughingstock now, or at least he was until all this thing came up. That one man's career was affected in unimaginable ways because of this scandal. Now multiply that times every single player that played against them when they were using this. And then multiply the success of those players that they would have had times 10 for what they got. I mean, there's an MVP that's on the record books because of this. You have a guy that got a managerial position in Boston, a guy that got a managerial position with the Mets in New York.
What do the Mets do? That's the next question.
I think you take a look at it because he was hired on the credentials. Carlos Beltran was hired on these credentials of him being able to be this guy. And then you look at it and you say, well, they were cheating. Does he get that job based if he didn't have those credentials? I don't really think he would. So I think it's easier now to just drop the axe and say this is a zero tolerance policy because you don't want that bleeding over.
Problem with that though, if you go after Beltran, well then how do you not go after every single player that was on that roster? Because you cannot.
Yes. He was the only one specifically named in the report though, so I think that at least is a lead.
Plus he was kind of like a coach because he was so old.
Okay, but I do find it interesting that you name the guy who isn't on the roster. Did you notice that? All the guys that didn't seem to be in Houston anymore were the ones that were named in the report. Beltran, everything that was going on out in Boston. I feel like he might have been a scapegoat. So if you go after him, you have to go after absolutely every player that was on that roster. And I feel like there is some kind of deal going on. And you know how baseball is with their backdoor deals, Bill. I'm talking like this, so you know it's true. Where the players' union saw what happened, went to the league and said, we have to keep this quiet because if you go after one player, all of these players are going to start to turn on each other.
Yeah. And how do you do the suspensions based on that? Who gets 40 games? Who gets 20? How does that break down?
And it's not over. I mean, this is it is still just amazing to me. This is the Rochester Press Box. We're presented by the Genesee Brewhouse and talking Buffalo Bills. Next. The Press Box is brought to you in part by Bay & Goodman Pizza, a local Rochester favorite. Corner of North Winton and Browncroft, Bay & Goodman Pizza. Thanks for joining us and welcome back. We're the Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. So you called us initially our attention a few weeks ago with how tough the schedule next year for the Buffalo Bills is going to be, which puts this season in a very kind of neat light, I think, is that it was there to be enjoyed, and it's going to be tough to replicate. And with the whole expectation thing, it's going to be tough, I think, to have as much fun as we did this year. What did this year's team do for you?
Well, I'll tell you what, I am hurting bad, and I'm going to be that guy that all of you media types, all of you media people were hating on Twitter. Like, I believe this was the season of destiny. You beat all of the teams that you lost to in the Super Bowl leading throughout the season. You have these crazy comeback wins. Josh Allen steps in. The schedule is favorable. And then, you trip over to Houston, and, well, that was the end of it. When Tennessee won that game, and I have this belief in season of destiny, and the Bills are a field goal, you would have had home field advantage. If Houston would have held on to that 24-point lead in Kansas City, I might have lit my house on fire. Like, that's how upset I would have been. But
we're all better off then.
Yeah, seriously.
my kids and wife especially. But, no, I don't know. Like, yes, there are higher expectations, but I think it's going to be fun as a Bills fan to have expectations, legitimate expectations for a season, finally.
It's fun, but different.
Yes.
This was a Cinderella season.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
except for you, who saw it coming.
No, I didn't see this coming. You're right. But I want to know what it's like, because it's been so long as a Bills fan to walk into a season and know this is what I expect, and I need you to live up to my expectations.
That seems so dangerous, though, considering where this team has come. And yeah, this season was great. But you, like you said, it was such a favorable schedule. And taking a look at next year, them going out west so much. Look, they have Josh Allen back again. They have Brian Dable presumably as well. The defense is going to continue to grow. But I just think having those expectations, do you think they will exceed them? I don't get. I feel like that's where it gets dangerous.
But the lesson looking at that, I wanted to, and especially because you're around the team a lot.
Yeah.
You do all the stuff, and even though I didn't make national TV this year for getting knocked down by somebody, so this is really a come down. But what because you deal with these guys and stuff, what was the highlight for you? What was something that really stuck out in your mind about that you'll remember about this year's team?
I think it was a win in Dallas, just because it being on Thanksgiving, the Bills hadn't played a game on the national scale in so long that so many.
Did you
people,
go? Were you at that game?
Mike and I were down in Arlington. We got to see Jerry's World, which is that stadium is insane. That's actually the stadium too where Josh Allen was drafted. So it was cool going back there, seeing him, 2 years removed from that, or a year and a half really, and just getting to see there were so many expectations on the Bills. and just them not being able to raise to the caliber of that game. And I think when you saw the team come out the way they did and play the way they did and just see so many people nationally say, wow, look at this Bills team. Josh Allen walking off the field, eating that turkey leg. That was just such a cool moment, and something that getting to be there for that was awesome to see.
Yeah, I remember standing in front of the TV set and like looking at what was happening. I says, I can't believe I'm watching this.
Yeah, no, it was bananas. I told you, I was watching with a bunch of drunk South American people in Orlando. It was one of the best days of my life.
So how about for you? Where's the moment, the signature moment for you?
I'll tell you what the signature moment was. It was the kickoff for the second New England Patriots game, that primetime game, because at that moment, the Bills had locked up a playoff spot, and you were about to get into a legitimate dogfight with a team that had dominated you for the last 2 decades. And in that moment, I got to say, if we win this game, awesome. If not, who cares? Because we're there, right? Like, you were playing with house money. For the first time in 2 decades, a decade, the Bills were playing with house money, and I was watching it with my own eyes.
Yeah, I agree. And that was huge in terms of experience, too, because it was a playoff-type game, and they didn't have to worry. They lost that, but it didn't matter because they were in. They were locked in.
Mine came early when Tre'Davious White took the interception in the Miami game very early in the season that saved them from having Ryan Fitzpatrick come back in what I thought was the defensive play of the year, and it saved the Buffalo Bills from being the Buffalo Bills again by losing that game at home to Miami, which they might very well have if it weren't for that play.
I mean, that turned around that game. That was a momentum swing that they needed, and Tre'Davious White has been so fun to watch over these last couple of years. When he came into Buffalo, you knew the expectations were there.
And watching him become arguably the best cornerback in football.
Yeah, I just think, and it's interesting to see the way his personality has kind of ebbed and flowed, because this is a guy that has a lot of personality. But I think when you see him on the field, he's being himself. He's obviously a really competitive guy. But when you see him post-game, he is so much more mature, and you've seen that over these last couple of years. And I think that's just shown how much he's grown on the field as well. Because he takes it to heart, but it's not distracting in the way he does it.
It makes it just a little bit more palatable, is that he's the guy we got instead of Pat Mahomes. That deal back then. We're the Rochester Press Box. We're presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Like it or not is next. Here's the Press Box trivia question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Here's the Press Box trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. We're the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Jenna, like it or not, the targeting rules applied in college football, especially in the light that Luke Kuechly has just announced that he's retiring at the age of 29.
Yeah, I was surprised by Luke Kuechly retiring, only because I thought he was a guy that's had so much success, and obviously he has had the injuries that he's had, especially concussion-wise, but I was surprised by that. Targeting rule, especially in the college football national championship, I didn't like that just because I don't think that there was the ability to address intent and just whether or not a player meant it. The other guy popped right back up. I just thought the way for him to end his season on that, it was tough to see.
I've kind of always liked it. I mean, I know it's harsh, but it's changing the way people are playing the game, and that's kind of the point.
I agree with you 100%. I like it a lot. I mean, listen, you're going to miss. You can't prove intent. You're right. But if the mistake happens, the mistake happens. You have to make a decision. Are you serious about making the game safer, or are you going to kowtow to what intent is? Because you will never be able to measure intent. It's impossible. If you are really dedicated to making this game safer, you have to stick with the system that you have.
Hey, quickly, like it or not, the games that were played over the weekend, we had 5 games. Most significant, best game, you got one you really liked?
I am an old school field possession kind of football fan, and I really enjoyed watching Tennessee and Baltimore. Like, that was, I really liked watching that game. I mean, for the fireworks, it's obviously Houston and Kansas City, but there was something about that Baltimore-Tennessee game and waiting for Baltimore to turn it on, and it never turning on, and in the middle of the fourth, you realizing, oh my God, this is really going to happen, which, made the cockles of my heart feel
How about you?
I mean, I will say that the Houston Chiefs game was amazing, but I kind of agree with you. Watching Derrick Henry just sprint down the field, no one able to bring him down, was just so much much fun to watch, especially the run that they've been on, taking on the Patriots now. They took down Baltimore. That was so cool to see. And I love that too, because that's a team that it kind of feels like a team of destiny.
You
I don't
took
wanna
my thing, I trademarked
go that far, but at the same point, it's just fun to see them knock down the teams that everyone talked about as being.
And I like the college game because I think as we look back on that game, having Boros played against Lawrence, that's going to become like an iconic moment in college football history, regardless of how you think, where these teams rank in the all-time. That was a great show. We're the Rochester Press Box. We're presented by the Genesee Brew House, and Unfinished Business is next. And now here's this week's MVP Experience Stat of the Week, brought to you by Sport Clips, where it's good to be a guy. No appointment ever needed.
And now to Eichel. He floated one.
When Girl Scout ingenuity meets Dunkin' coffee, you get a cup of can-do. Girl Scout cookie-inspired flavors are at Dunkin'. Try Thin Mints and Coconut Caramel today. And get a medium latte or cappuccino for $2 from 2 to 6 p.m. America runs on Dunkin'.
You are kind of dismissing the comments from Melo earlier this week where he says, the trade talks are stressing him out and he doesn't like it. You signed for $25 million a year. When you sign in New York, no matter who you are, there's going to be trade talk all around you. You can't completely absolve Carmelo Anthony of any blame in this situation.
He said the trade talks are stressing him out. What's wrong with that?
Well, you can't tell Phil Jackson, keep your mouth shut and let Melo, I don't like it, my feelings are
Phil
hurt.
Jackson.
$25 million a year is really sad.
Is that the way he talks?
He's like that. That was weird. I don't know why he does this. He makes a lot of money.
We can get that soundbite from Carmelo Anthony on tape coming up soon.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. We're the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House Unfinished Business, brought to you by Dunkin'. America runs on Dunkin'. Pat.
You hear all the time about how good leagues have parity. For example, the NFL playoffs right now are super exciting because nobody's really been there before. And then you see what's happening in the NBA right now. So if you're not aware, the NBA, they have their worst ratings they've had in a very long time. After a huge season last year where everyone tuned in to watch, and I think I know why. Your best teams are in cities that nobody cares about without transcendent talent. As we tape this show, the best team in the NBA is the Milwaukee Bucks with Giannis Antetokounmpo. I know how to say his name, but you don't. And that's the point I'm trying to make. Is they're an exciting team to watch, but you don't care about the Bucks and you don't care about Giannis, so you're not going to check it out. And then you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis doing their things in Los Angeles and Harden doing his thing out in Houston. And you're not going to watch that because those games don't start until 10, 11 o'clock at night. Listen, it's really cool that there is talent spread amongst a ton of NBA teams this season, but the Celtics don't have a superstar that you're familiar with, so you're not going to watch them either. I hate to admit this, but it was a heck of a lot better when Cleveland, Miami, and the Celtics were beating the heck out of each other in Eastern Conference, because at least then I knew who I was watching, and I knew I'd be up late enough to see the end of it.
All right, Bills Mafia, I need you to hear me out, Pat Duffy included in this. I need you to temper expectations for the Bills season in 2020. They had a very favorable year this past year. They made it to the playoffs. They were also extremely healthy. This upcoming season, I don't think it's going to be that. They're going to be out west. It's going to be a tougher schedule. There's no way to make sure that this team will be as healthy as they were this past season. I think this year is going to be a pivotal year for the franchise, but I do not expect them to make the playoffs. I do not expect them to have a better record. Sorry, but that's just the way it's going to be.
Funny that Pat Duffy's talking about cities that, people really don't care about. Fargo, North Dakota has a football dynasty there. North Dakota State University has won 8 of the last 9 Division 1A, they used to call it, football championships, which is quite a run. I've been to Fargo. Fargo is the 3rd coldest metropolitan area in the country. It's 20 degrees on average colder than Rochester is in January, and it's hotter there in July than it is in Rochester. One of their top amusements is the wood chipper that was used in the movie Fargo. They planted a guy in there and disposed of a body. The wood chipper is actually the actual one is on display. And the funny part about that is no part of the movie Fargo was actually shot in the city of Fargo. They have a tractor museum. Fargo makes fun of itself in that if you go through there, then the visitors center, there's an area where you can sign a book that says saving the best for last. It's all these people that have gone to 48 states in the Union, and North Dakota is the last one they got around to seeing. And they know that. There's no logical reason why places like Lincoln, Nebraska, South Bend, Indiana, or Fargo have great national sports images. But I think it's better that they do. Don't you?
Sure. I've been to that tractor museum, by the way.
Have you?
Yeah, I would do a show.
It's part of Bonanzaville, which is actually quite a neat little place in Fargo.
Very familiar with everything you're saying. How sad is it that we are both so sad that we've been to Fargo, North Dakota?
Yeah.
You're not cool.
I'll take it.
Unfinished Business, brought to you by Duncan. Berger runs on Duncan. Jenna, great to have you back. We'll do this now on a regular basis now that you're free to enjoy yourself a little bit.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Pat, in New Jersey.
Thank you very much. Again, if you guys want it back, you know where to find me. I'm going to keep the jersey. It's mine.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week with the Rochester Press Box.